Okay, I want you to picture this. It's a Tuesday morning, maybe 7:30. You've got the biggest pitch of your quarter at 9 a.m. sharp. You're in your car, coffee's there, feeling, okay. But then you hit that freeway merge, and it's just brake lights, a sea of red.
The universal color of panic.
Exactly. You watch the ETA on your phone just tick up,
Yeah.
8.45, 8.5, 8.55, and you can feel it, right? Your whole physiology changes. You're gripping the steering wheel, knuckles are white, your heart rate spikes. You're trying to mentally rehearse your opening, but your brain is just completely hijacked by whether that truck is going to let you in. We've all been there. It's the modern commuting nightmare.
It is, and it's not just, annoying. It's actually a performance killer. By the time you walk into that boardroom, your cortisol is through the roof.
Right.
You are in fight or flight mode before you've even shaken a single hand.
You spent your entire morning battery just surviving the drive. But here is where today's deep dive gets really interesting. We are looking at a stack of research, specifically this Ontario Executive Travel and Corporate Transportation Guide, that argues this dead time in the car. It's the biggest inefficiency in modern business.
That's right. We're looking at the services from Ontario Airport Limo, but really, we're using them as a case study for something much bigger, the strategic value of professional transportation.
Okay.
And I want to be super clear here. We are not talking about renting a limo for, prom night.
Right, no sunroofs with people screaming out of them.
No, we are talking about efficiency. We're talking about converting that dead time into billable time.
Yeah.
The core argument in this source material is that for executives, driving yourself is actually a high-cost activity that's just disguised as a saving.
Okay, let's unpack that right away, because I feel like a lot of people listening think, well, I have a nice car, I have Bluetooth, why can't I just work while I drive? I mean, is a chauffeur really that much of a game changer, or is it just, an ego thing?
That is the million-dollar question. And the source material tackles this by introducing the concept of the mobile office. But let's look at the science first. You mentioned Bluetooth. Sure, you can take a conference call while driving, but are you present?
Honestly, no. If I'm trying to merge onto the 405, I'm hearing the call, but I'm not processing it. I'm definitely not taking notes.
Exactly. That's called switching cost. Your brain is literally toggling between don't crash the car and analyze quarterly earnings. You just can't do deep work while operating a 2-ton vehicle.
Right.
What this guide highlights is that by handing over the keys, literally shifting the burden of logistics to a professional, you reclaim all that cognitive bandwidth.
So it's not just about comfort, it's about brain power.
It's about capacity. The guide details how these Ontario Airport Limo vehicles are Wi-Fi enabled. They're designed to be quiet. So imagine that same Tuesday morning, but this time you're in the back of a luxury sedan. You have your laptop open, stable Wi-Fi.
So you're actually reviewing your slide deck.
You're doing a final run-through of the pitch.
Yeah.
And the traffic.
That doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant to you. I mean, physically you're in it, but mentally. You're already at the meeting. The chauffeur is handling the navigation, the rerouting, the aggressive drivers. You arrive at the client's office calm, prepared, and focused. That shift in mental state, that wins deals.
That brings up a specific point from the text I found really compelling, the cost of unreliability. The guide mentions, and I'm quoting here, unplanned delays or missed meetings can damage credibility.
Right. In the executive world, sorry, I'm late, traffic is bad. It's just not an acceptable excuse.
All right.
It signals a lack of foresight.
It sounds amateur.
It does. And this is where the operational side of a service like Ontario Airport Limo comes in. The text emphasizes that their drivers don't just, drive. They monitor traffic patterns in real time. They monitor flight schedules.
Okay, let's touch on that flight monitoring, because that seems like a huge stress point. Anyone who flies out of Ontario International, or really anywhere, knows that anxiety. Is my flight delayed? Is it early? Is my ride going to be there?
It's a massive differentiator. The guide explains that the dispatch team and the chauffeurs, they track the flights. If your flight is delayed 3 hours or, you hit a tailwind and land 40 minutes early, they know before you do.
Wow.
They adjust the pickup time automatically.
So I don't have to be frantically texting from the tarmac trying to find my driver.
Zero friction.
Yeah.
You walk out, and they are there. That reliability is what the guide calls peace of mind. And if you think about the hourly rate of a CEO or a senior partner.
Let's do the math on that for a second.
If an executive bills at, say, $500 or $1,000 an hour, and they spend 2 hours staring at a bumper, that is $2,000 of lost opportunity cost.
Gone.
But if they spend that 2 hours working in the back of a car, The car service pays for itself almost immediately.
That's a really strong reframing. It stops being an expense and it becomes an asset utilization tool.
Yeah.
But I want to pivot to something a bit shallower maybe, but I'd argue it's just as important. The look.
The optics.
The optics, yeah. The guide has a whole section on professional image. It says, luxury vehicles enhance credibility and create strong first impressions. Now, is this just vanity or does it actually matter?
In high-stakes business, everything is data. Your suit is data. Your handshake is data. And how you arrive is absolutely data. There's this thing called signaling theory, which suggests we use these cues to determine trustworthiness and stability.
So if I'm a high-level consultant and I pull up to a Fortune 500 headquarters in a beat-up 2012 hatchback with a weird rattle,
It signals chaos. It signals you might not be attentive to detail. But rolling up in a pristine, black, late-model luxury vehicle that signals control, signals resources. And it works both ways. Think about when you send a car to pick up a client.
oh, that's the ultimate power move. Don't worry about the Uber, my driver's outside.
It sets the entire tone for the negotiation before you've even met. You are telling that client, I value your comfort and I handle the details. That is a very persuasive message.
Let's talk about the hardware for a second. The fleet section in the guide, it's not just one type of card. They break it down into specific tools for specific jobs.
Right. They tailor the vehicle to the mission.
So kick us off with the sedans. Who is this for?
The luxury sedan is your solitary mobile office. The guide calls it quiet and comfortable. This is for the executive traveling alone who needs to make calls, needs to focus. It's basically a cocoon.
And then the SUVs. I feel like SUVs have really become the new standard for executive travel.
They have. The guide pitches the luxury SUVs as spacious and specifically ideal for teams. This is where the mobile meeting comes into play. If you and 3 colleagues are going to a site visit, you can actually hold a briefing meeting right there in the car.
That's a good point. You can't do that if you're split between 2 Ubers or cramming into some compact car.
Right. I've tried to have sensitive conversations in a rideshare, and it's awkward. You're whispering, you're trying not to touch shoulders.
Yeah.
The SUV turns that commute into a pregame locker room. You get your strategy aligned, so you walk in as a united front. And then, of course, they mentioned vans and mini coaches.
Which is for, what? A corporate retreat?
Conferences, events, road shows, moving larger groups efficiently. If you're organizing an event, the last thing you want is your keynote speaker getting lost or your team arriving in, dribs and drabs. The bus ensures everyone gets there together on time.
There's a detail in that fleet section that really stood out to me, especially in this post-2020 world we're in. They emphasize meticulously detailed and sanitized vehicles.
It's huge. Hygiene is now part of that professional image we were just talking about.
Yeah.
We've all had that experience with a generic ride share where you get in and it smells like a gym bag.
Or there are crumbs on the seat.
Or the last passenger's lunch is still kind of lingering in the air.
Right.
When you're wearing a tailored suit or you're about to meet a VIP, you cannot risk arriving looking disheveled or, smelling like fast food. The guide says these vehicles are inspected and maintained to a showroom standard. You know exactly what you are getting every single time.
Okay, so we have the cars, we have the efficiency, but I want to push back again. We live in the era of the app. I can summon a car to my house in 3 minutes with my thumb. Why, and be honest here, why go through the hassle of booking a private service? Why not just use Uber Black or Lyft Lux?
This is where the human element section of the guide really draws a line in the sand. And the key word really is consistency.
Explain that.
When you use an app, you are rolling the dice. You might get a great driver in a nice car, or you might get a driver who's been behind the wheel for 14 hours straight, doesn't know the geography of the Inland Empire, and is just blindly following a GPS that's sending them down a dead end.
Or a driver who really, really wants to talk to you about his screenplay.
Precisely. The gig economy is variable by design. Corporate transportation is controlled. The source material describes the Ontario Airport Limo chauffeurs as courteous, discreet, and professionally trained.
Discreet is an interesting word choice there. It implies something pretty specific.
It applies confidentiality. This is kind of the NDA on wheels concept.
Yeah.
If you're a CEO discussing a merger or a lawyer discussing a case, you absolutely cannot have that conversation in the back of a random rideshare. You don't know who that driver is.
Right.
You don't know if they have a dash cam recording the interior that's streaming to the cloud.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about the dash cam thing. That's a massive security hole.
It is. A professional chauffeur understands that what is said in the car stays in the car. They're trained to be invisible when they need to be. They're part of the professional infrastructure, not just some guy with a side hustle.
And safety plays into this too, right? The guide mentions safety protocol.
Oh, absolutely. Strict vehicle inspections, driver vetting, corporate liability is a real thing. If a company sends an employee on a trip and puts them in an unvetted vehicle that gets into an accident, that's a very complex situation.
Hmm.
Using a licensed, insured, professional carrier mitigates that risk.
So it's risk management.
100%.
Okay, let's talk about the scope of the service. We mentioned the airport, specifically Ontario International, but the guide lists some other use cases. Complex itineraries, what's that about?
This is where the service moves from just driving to logistics. Think about a roadshow.
A roadshow?
Yeah, investment bankers or executives doing a tour, maybe 3 meetings in 3 different cities in one day. Los Angeles to Ontario to Irvine. The logistics of that are a nightmare. Parking, timing, traffic flow.
If you're driving yourself, by that third meeting, you are just exhausted.
And if you're using rideshare, you have to wait for a pickup at every single stop, just hoping a car is available. With a service like Ontario Airport Limo, the car is waiting for you. You come out of the meeting, jump in and go. The guide says for executive meetings, the driver handles the logistics while the executive just works. It's seamless.
It effectively gives you a personal assistant for the physical movement of your day.
Exactly. And the guide includes some social proof to back all this up. It's not just marketing speak. They've got quotes from actual users in the real-world benefits section.
Yeah, let's look at Michael R., a CEO they mention.
Michael says, their punctuality and professionalism have transformed our executive travel experience. I like that word, transformed. It implies that before this, travel was a real pain point. Now it's a solved problem.
And Samantha L., a CFO.
She calls it reliable, stylish, and efficient. Again, coming from a CFO, efficient is the highest praise you can get. She's looking at the bottom line. She knows that reliability equals money.
Okay, I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, this sounds great, but is it a headache to set up? I'm used to the instant gratification of an app. Does this involve like fax machines and contracts?
No fax machines. The logistics and implementation section outlines a pretty modern process. You can book online, but they also highlight a direct phone line, 909-657-0434.
Which feels old school, but actually I think that's a feature.
It is absolutely a feature. Have you ever tried to call customer service for a rideshare app when something goes wrong?
It's impossible. You're talking to a bot.
Exactly. Here, they provide a number. That's 909-657-0434 because they know that executive travel often requires a human touch. My meeting ran long, or I need to add a stop. You talk to a real person, and it just gets done.
The guide also mentions they accommodate recurring or last-minute trips.
That flexibility is key. You can set up a standing order every Monday morning at 6 a.m., or you can call with an emergency request. They really function as an extension of your own operations team.
And what about customization? Can I be a diva?
Within reason. The guide mentions customized itineraries, which means, yeah, if you need the car at a specific temperature, you need a specific route taken, or you need just absolute silence, you just ask.
I need the AC at 68 degrees and 0 conversation.
They'll put that right in your profile. And that's the difference between a service and a commodity. A commodity just gets you there. A service cares how you get there.
And just to situate us geographically one more time, we've said Ontario International Airport a lot.
Yes. Their HQ is listed at 2337S Greenwood, PLAPTC, in Ontario, California. It's a really strategic location because it sits right in the heart of that Inland Empire logistics corridor. Perfect for the airport, but also for getting to LA, Orange County, or even out to the desert.
So we've covered the what, the cars, the drivers, we've covered the how, the booking, but I want to land on the so what.
The synthesis.
Yeah. We started this whole deep dive talking about the stress of the commute, but looking at all this evidence, it feels like the story here is bigger than just stress relief.
You're right. If I had to summarize the mission here, based on the source text, it's about professional sustainability.
Explain what you mean by that.
You can't burn the candle at both ends forever. You can't expect to be a high-performing executive if you're exhausting yourself on low-value tasks like fighting traffic. The guide uses phrases like peace of mind and maximizing productivity.
It's about guarding your energy.
It is. It's about recognizing that your attention is a finite resource. When you hire a service like Ontario Airport Limo, you aren't just paying for a ride. You are buying back your own attention. You are buying the ability to think clearly before a huge moment,
And you're buying reliability. You're removing the variable of, will I get there on time?
which is priceless. In a chaotic world, certainty is the ultimate luxury.
I love that. Certainty is the ultimate luxury. So here's the thought I want to leave our listeners with today. We usually end with a question to chew on.
Sure.
We often talk about how much our time is worth per hour. We track our billable hours, but we rarely, if ever, track our stress cost.
That's a great point.
So next time you are gripping that steering wheel, staring at those red lights on the 10 or the 405, ask yourself this: what is the actual cost of this drive? Not in gas, but in the energy you are burning before you even clock in.
Is saving $50 on a ride costing you $1 million deal because you weren't mentally prepared?
That's the question. Sometimes the smartest business move you can make is to sit in the back seat and let someone else take the wheel.
Couldn't agree more.
That wraps up our deep dive into the world of professional corporate transportation. Hopefully, we've given you permission to reclaim your commute. Thanks for listening, and drive safe, or better yet, don't drive at all.
Take care, everyone.